Hey Tribe, welcome to part 3 of fixing your running gait. Today we're going to work a little bit on the hip rotation, some leg extension to help us be a little bit more hip dominant in our run instead of quad dominant, and a little bit of footwork there to help build the arch and start feeling that metatarsal pad and big toe pushing on the ground. If you haven't watched the first 2 parts of this, feel free to go back and click on the links, which are somewhere up in this screen. And we'll learn a little bit more about being hip or quad dominant, and some of that stuff will make sense. But let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is trying to get our posterior chain, the backside of our body, to fire up and make sure that when we are striding on that run and that we're pushing off on that back foot when we run, that we are firing all this up and making it tie to our feet on the ground. And the way we can do that is with a band. You can get a small band, thin band, any sort of banded resistance. And we can just tie it off, and we can start above the thighs is the easiest position. We could obviously work this band down lower if we need to increase the difficulty, as long as we keeping that leg locked out. So the thing that she wants to focus on here is going to be having the feet and the inside of the foot on the ground. We should also be feeling the outside of the foot and the heel. Weight distributed evenly across the entire foot. And then from there, what she's going to do is pick one leg up with the straight leg, and we're going to go behind us almost at a 45 degree and then right back to neutral position. Now there's no pause in this, it just goes back and forward. So I would just work through that, Nadine, pull that back and then come forward. Yes. And work for about 30 seconds of this per side, and your focus is on feeling that hip open up. We should also be feeling that glute squeeze, keeping the legs straight, and then every time we come back down, bringing the feet together and making sure we distribute that weight back to that foot as well too. Pay attention to the foot that you are standing on. Once again, we do want to make sure that it's on the inside of the foot, so we are feeling that metatarsal pad being put on the ground. But knock this out 30 seconds aside. Try 2 or 3 sets for this. Good way to get the glutes started, get that hip firing. That's movement 1. Next, we're going to talk about aligning the hips with their legs. A lot of the times, our hips might be at a different angle. We can have a shift forward. We can have the hip opened up one side more than the other. There's a lot of stuff that can happen in the hips, especially if we drive a lot or sit a lot or sleep in a really comfy bed. To help us tie in our hip position to lead our foot to contact evenly on the ground, we're going to put a foam roller, or we can use a block or anything that you have, and we can do that right above the knees. So what she's going to focus once again is the contact of her foot on the ground, making sure the metatarsal and the big toe. We talked about in the other video, we want, if this is our big toe, we want that big toe pushing on the ground. We don't want it curling, but we do want the connection there because it ties directly to our vastus medialis, our VMO muscle up front here, which is also going to help us drive off that leg as well as our gastroc. So once we feel those feet planted on the ground, those feet are secure, even distributed weight. We're then going to take our hips and we're going to rotate our hips in and rotate our hips out. So if you watch more or less around her kneecaps, you're going to see the rotation of her quads as she rotates the legs in and then rotates them out. So she is squeezing this the entire time, and then we're just rotating the hips in and out. So you're going to see how that foam roller slightly moves and then rotating out. And as she's rotating out, it's very easy to pick the foot up, but she's maintaining the contact with that metatarsal pad. That's being pushed in the ground as she's continuing to rotate from the hips. So we should feel these adductors kicking on. And at the same time, when we go into external rotation, we could probably feel a little bit more of the VLO, which has really good muscle definition, so you can clearly see that. And when we go into this position as well, we're going to feel those glutes fire up, which is going to be your deep gluteal muscle, the piriformis, when we're creating the external rotation. But squeezing this block is helping us align the rest of the body with the feet, making sure they're on the ground. So once again, I would practice this for about 30 seconds, just going in and out, 2 or 3 rounds that we can work through to help us make sure that the knees are aligned over that second toe. So when we are planting the foot on the ground, the structure of our body is all in line, and we're not getting a foot that's landing out here and a knee caving in, or that we're having the foot here, the knees caving in. We want to make sure that when we are striding, we are stacking our skeletons. Now that foot, like we talked about before, is going to start on the outside, and then it's going to transition to the inside. Then from the inside, we're going to drive off that toe. So from that side angle, when we are running, we are going to fall on the outside, transition to the inside. This leg's going to come up, and then we're going to drive off of that big toe and metatarsal pad, creating the power pushing off of the hip, rather than picking that foot up, smashing the heel down, stopping ourselves, and then pulling our body and being quad dominant, which is putting all the strain on the knee and on the foot and actually creating impact of the joint rather than using the arch of the foot and the power of their muscles to drive off and cushion our landing and push through that. So we're cushioning the landing, pushing through that run. The final thing that we can do to help get the foot going is doing some arch builders. And I love these because the elevation is set at a gap that we are attacking the metatarsal pad and the heel. So these are the 2 points and our big toe we want pushed down. Once again, we're having it pushed down. We're not crunching it in. We're pushing the big toe down and holding it. You don't have to use a ton of pressure, but you can use enough pressure just to feet on the ground. And then we want that spacing, like I said, that it's hitting both of that arch, so it forces us to use the arch rather than sitting on the arch, which is what arch supporters do in shoes, okay? Sounds good if we have acute problem, plantar fasciitis, that we can use those orthotics, or we can use that arch support to alleviate some of that pain throughout our day, but don't look at orthotics as a permanent solution. A lot of doctors do, and every 6 months, they're just gonna give you a fatter and fatter and fatter arch support or orthotic, and what that does is it changes your center of balance from being straight to now my heels are elevated. I have to reposition my body. Heels are going to get thicker in the orthotics, and it's going to push my body back. So when I remove those orthotics, my body is going to have to be leaning forward to get the balance. We don't want that shift happening for an extended period of time by getting thicker orthotics. We should be balanced on the front and back position. That's why orthotics should be used temporarily. Look at them like a neck brace. Don't look at them as a permanent fix, right? If you get whiplash in a car, you're going to put a neck brace on for a little bit of a period of time, but your doctor is not going to be giving you a thicker neck brace every couple months to protect that neck. Orthotics work the same way. Use it as we need to remove the pain in our body, but we don't want to rely on them because they will be a crutch in the long term. So with these arch supports, these are really good too if you have orthotics in your shoe to help start building the arch back. Or in general, if you don't use your arch, you have plantar fasciitis, plantar necrosis, any pain that's hitting right on the rear of that heel, this is a really good exercise to tackle to help make pain reduced, help you run also pain-free and recover from that. So easy, simple exercise here. Put the heel, put it on that forefoot. We're going to find a soft knee, so we're not locking that knee out. We want to allow the body to move, and what we are looking for is the back and forth, the instability of the foot. That's what we want. So if that's happening in your foot, good. It means we're making change. With the other leg, we're just going to start off by trying to slowly pick it up and hold it. Just pick it up and hold it right there. Actually, so it's just right off the ground. That's a good starting position right there. Just find that balance. Also, keep your eyes. You can keep them on about 3 feet in front, or I like looking at the distance under a spot on the wall. That's what helps me too. Sometimes that can throw off the balance, so kind of adjust to what you need. Once we feel good with just picking that foot up, then what we're going to try and do is bring the knee up to about 90 degrees. When we get to 90 degrees, we also want to keep that toe up towards the knee, not pointed down. If we want to get a little more hip flexion action, we just drive that knee up higher, and now what we're trying to do is keep this knee as high as possible, firing up that psoas, iliopsoas that's in the hip, and we're going to create some balance with those. With the arms, I like to keep the elbows bent and the hands about shoulder height. This way it keeps the shoulders down. A lot of us into the single leg balance, and you could relax, a lot of us into the single leg balance are going to pick the leg up, and as we pick the leg up, we're also going to bring the shoulders up because we're using this tension to try and distract from the balance of what's going on in our foot. We want to make sure that we can relax the shoulders. We're trying to send the center of balance to the lower part down to your hips to create that movement rather than the shoulders. These hips will create stability. If you have your lower center of gravity, then you're not going to be so tipsy up top. So a good way to do that is if we raise the hands, the shoulders might shrug, but we want to drop the shoulders down. Now we work like a tightrope walker. So as I'm driving this leg up and keeping the toe here, I can work these side to side as I need, and I don't have the stress up here that's going to make me want to fall over. I could bring that leg up, and with that soft knee, I can kind of allow this knee, so I can allow this knee to go in and out and move and fight for that stability and work all the muscles that we need in the lower half for actually running, rather than keeping the leg up here, fighting everything in the upper body, which is not going to help us create the stability of the lower half of the body. You want that body to move. We want that back and forth shift. We want to feel the instability of the foot. You should also feel that gastroc, that calf really firing up and getting a good pump in that. That's what you're looking for. We always like to go and do even just one max set. So that might mean 2 minutes, 3 minutes that you're standing here until you're just feeling the burn all throughout the calf, all throughout the quad, glute. Light that stuff up on fire. You come off that, it's going to feel great, and your position is going to be improved a lot. So those are the 3 exercises we want. We're going to do those banded hip openers. And actually, if you go from the side, we didn't do it from the side. You don't even have to throw the band on. But if you just do a side view of that, of what that looks like, she does have her hands on her hips, and the reason we have that, we want to make sure that we're not dumping our bucket of water. So we're not trying to show what it looks like if we're kind of tilting that pelvis. Yeah, we're trying to like swinging the leg back and having that hip go forward. We don't want that. So you can put your hands on the hips. So we want the body to be upright. We're just bringing that leg back, feeling that glute squeeze, and that's your focus on that one. The next one was going to be that foam roller that's tucked between the legs, working all the movement on the internal and external rotation coming from the hips, while we're pushing the big toes down, metatarsal pad and heels on the ground. And finally, that third one is going to be those arch builders. Give those a try. Let us know what you think. Next week is our running seminar on April 23rd. You could sign up for that with the link down below. Other than that, like our videos, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and all the other fun stuff. And we'll see you guys next week.